Hi, my name is Stephen Ocheng. I'm a trainer from Somo Africa, and today we want to talk about cost of sales. What is cost of sales? Cost of sales is the amount of money a business incurs to make a product or a service available to target customers. Why is it important to calculate cost of sales? Number one, it helps to determine the amount of money you're going to incur to produce your product or service. Number two, as a business person, it helps in terms of calculating your profit margins from the sale of the product or services that you're offering. Today, we are going to calculate cost of sales using the cost of sales calculator. In this example, we will use a Rolex business. To make a Rolex, we will need the following ingredients. The first one we'll need is the flour. We'll also need eggs. We will need salt. We will need oil. We will also need water. And lastly, onions. So these are the ingredients we will need to make a Rolex. The next thing that we'll need to put is now the quantity. So in the case of flour, we will need 1 kilogram. In the case of eggs, we'll need 1 piece. In the case of salt, we'll need 1 tablespoon. In the case of oil, we'll need 1 liter. In the case of water, we will need 10 liters of water. Lastly, in the case of onion, we'll need 1 piece of onion. After filling the quantity and the unit of each quantity, we'll go to the next column, which is in terms of filling the cost of each quantity we put in this sheet. We'll now put the cost of each quantity of ingredients we're going to use to make our Rolex. In the case of flour, 1 kilogram is 60 shillings. 1 piece of an egg is 10 shillings. 1 tablespoon is 1 shilling. A liter of oil goes for 160 shillings. 10 liters of water is 10 shillings. And lastly, 1 piece of onions is 5 shillings. After filling in the cost column for each ingredient, the next thing that you're going to put is the sources of this ingredient. That is where we are buying them. In this case, all these ingredients are being bought from Naivas supermarket. So we'll just put Naivas supermarket. Good. So at that point, we've managed to fill the cost per raw input for Rolex. Remember that when you're filling the cost per raw input, what essentially you are putting is the ingredients you use or the materials you're going to use to produce your product or service, and what's the cost for those ingredients that you're putting, and lastly, where are you buying those ingredients. After filling in the cost per raw input, we'll now go to intermediate input cost. In the case of Rolex, there are 2 intermediates. The first intermediate is the fried eggs. The second one is the chapati. For those businesses that don't have intermediate, you'll not fill in the intermediate input sheet. You'll go straight to the cost of production. So, for example, we'll now have to fill the intermediate input cost. Our first intermediate is fried eggs. For fried eggs, we will need eggs. We'll also need oil. We'll also need salt. We'll also need onions. These are the 4 ingredients we'll need to make fried eggs. After filling in the inputs for making fried eggs, we'll now go to putting the quantity that will be used to make 50 roll eggs. In this case, 1 roll egg takes 2 fried eggs. For 50 roll eggs, that means we will be using 100 eggs. So eggs, we'll put 100 pieces. Oil, we'll use 2 liters of oil. Salt, we'll use 25 tablespoons. Onions, we'll use 50 pieces. To make fried eggs, that will go into making 50 roll eggs, that will incur a cost of 1,595 shillings. All this total cost is coming from 1,000 plus 320 plus 25 plus 250 gives you a total of 1,595 shillings. 1,595 shillings is the total cost of eggs that goes into making 50 roll eggs. Our second intermediate in this case will be chapati. To make chapati, we will need flour. We'll also need salt. We will also need oil. And lastly, we will need water. To make 50 chapatis, we'll need 2 kilograms of flour. We will need 2 tablespoons of salt. We will need 2 liters of oil. And lastly, we will need 1 liter of water. It is costing us 443 shillings to make 50 chapatis. How are we getting 443 shillings? What we're doing is that we're taking 120 plus 2 plus 320 plus 1. That gives you a total of 443 shillings. After filling in the intermediate input cost, the next thing that we need to fill is the cost of product 1. The cost of product 1 in this case is fried eggs. So I'll put that as fried eggs. Fried eggs. The group size is 50. That is, we're making 50 roll eggs. Our inputs for fried eggs, the first input is eggs. The second input is oil. The third input is salt. The fourth input is onions. After filling the part of inputs, the next column that we'll fill is the quantity column. In the case of eggs, we'll need 100 pieces of eggs. In the case of oil, we'll need 2 liters of oil. In the case of salt, we will need 25 tablespoons. Lastly, in the case of onion, we will need 50 pieces. Total cost of sales that goes into making the 100 eggs is 1,595 shillings. Cost of sales per unit is therefore 32 shillings. After filling in the cost of product 1, the second thing that we're going to fill is the cost of product 2. Product 2, in this case, is chapati. So we'll start by naming that to chapati. Our group size is 50 roll eggs. For us to make chapati, our inputs are: first, we have flour. 2, we have salt. 3, we have oil. And lastly, we have water. After filling in the inputs, the next thing that we need to fill is the quantity of each input that's being used. In the case of flour, we'll need 2 kilograms. In the case of salt, we'll need 2 tablespoons. In the case of oil, we'll need 2 liters. Lastly, in the case of water, we'll need 1 liter of water. The total cost of sales that goes into making 50 chapatis is 443 shillings. Therefore, the cost of sales per unit is 9 shillings. After filling in the cost of product 2, the next sheet we're going to fill is the production sheet. In the production sheet, we will be filling in the prices for individual items. In this case, our individual items are chapati and fried eggs. The price of 1 chapati is 20 shillings. A plate of 2 fried eggs is 50 shillings. That means the final profit of a single chapati is 11 shillings when it's being sold at 20 shillings. The final profit of a plate of 2 fried eggs is 18 shillings when it's being sold at 50 shillings. The cost of making a roll eggs is 41 shillings. That is 9 shillings plus 32 shillings gives you a total of 41 shillings. The price of selling a roll eggs is 70 shillings. That is 20 shillings plus 50 shillings gives you 70. The final profit of selling a roll eggs is 29 shillings when it's being sold at 70 shillings. We've come to the end of the lesson. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them on the comment below section. Be sure to share this video, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.